We all know about the blockbuster teen dystopian franchises that were popular in the 2010s. The Hunger Games, Divergent, and The Maze Runner sold millions of copies and drew scores of fans to the theaters to see their favorite stories come to life. But what about the other teen dystopian stories that didn't quite make it to the screen? Two other popular teen dystopian novels, The Selection by Kira Cass and Delirium by Lauren Oliver, were slated to be turned into TV shows in the early 2010s. Both adaptations even got pilot episodes, which are first episodes of the potential show that are shown to the network to try and convince them to make the whole thing. In the case of The Selection, the network attempted two different pilots before finally canning the project for good, whereas Delirium was only attempted once. I managed to track down all three of these TV pilots to see if they were any good. And I have some opinions. My name is Ellie Blackwood, and I watched these terrible failed dystopian TV pilots so that you don't have to. Last month, I posted a whole video about the history and current landscape of teen dystopian novels, which are making something of a comeback these days. And I made it pretty clear that back in the day, The Hunger Games was one of my favorites. I unfortunately can't say the same about The Selection and Delirium. I thought The Selection was fine, especially as a fun fluffy read where you can just turn your brain off for a bit, but I really didn't vibe with Delirium aside from the fact that I thought the prose was quite good. But even if you disagree with my opinions on these books and adaptations, I would love to hear your takes on them in the comments. No judgment, we're allowed to like different things. And you can also feel free to comment if you're a hater like me. If you like video essays about books, science fiction, Doctor Who, and all that goodness, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you want to get access to my videos 3 days before everyone else, as well as keep up with my latest projects and nerdy content, be sure to subscribe to my monthly newsletter, which you can find linked in the description. Now let's watch some garbage. These 3 TV pilot reactions were actually all posted on my TikTok last year, but I have re-edited them for more comfortable viewing on YouTube. Let's dive in with the first pilot, the initial attempt at adapting Kira Cass's The Selection. So if you were into YA dystopian books back in the days of yore, you might have heard of The Selection by Kira Cass. To briefly sum it up, it's a society where there's a rigid caste system, and the way that the royals pick who is going to marry their son is to hold a bachelor-style competition between women who are selected at random from this lottery. There was even going to be a Netflix adaptation of it, but it was recently announced that the Netflix adaptation is unfortunately not happening. However, this is not the first time that people have attempted to make a show of The Selection. For a while, the CW had the TV rights, and in 2012 they tried to make a pilot of The Selection. But everyone thought it was terrible. So then they tried to make another pilot in 2013, and that was also terrible, so the CW never made a Selection show. Scripts for both pilots are available to view online, but even though both pilots were filmed, it was not possible to watch them anywhere. Until recently, because about a month ago, a random YouTube user posted the entire 2012 Selection pilot on YouTube. The pilot starts, quite predictably, with a voiceover.
To defeat the East, the countries of the West banded together to form one great land, Illéa. She is a 5, a member of the artist caste, and her name is America.
First impressions, once everyone actually starts talking, the dialogue is clunky as hell.
The Selection is just the most romantic way for the prince to find a bride. Can you imagine having your name drawn, knowing it was random chance?
Sometimes I forget that you're a 3, Meredith. It's common knowledge among us twos that the so-called lottery is just to appease the lower caste.
Anyway, we've met our protagonist America, and she doesn't want to be in The Selection because she thinks it's an antiquated tradition. And also maybe because she's already in love with someone who is not the prince. Holy hell, that's Peter from the Narnia movies. Anyway, this guy is America's boyfriend Aspen, and while she is a 5, which is a relatively low caste to begin with, he is a 6, which means that if she were to marry him, she would also have to be demoted a caste. So their romance is kind of forbidden, but they're determined to get married anyway. So the day comes to announce the Selection winners, and we get knockoff Caesar Flickerman telling us who is going to the palace. We also get our first look at Prince Maxon, and is it just me, or is this dialogue very odd?
I feel confident that I will find a bride as exceptional as my mother.
I don't know, it just feels weird to be saying that you want to marry someone who's like your mom. Anyway, I wonder who will be chosen for the Selection.
Miss America, singer!
Oh my god. America? But she didn't enter. How is this possible? Turns out her dad entered her because if you end up in the selection, your family gets a stipend. And if you make it to the final 6, your family gets bumped up a couple of castes. But America doesn't want to go. She goes to one of her nightly meetings with Aspen and wants to ass on his pen. I'm sorry. And if I have to hear this cringy ass dialogue, then so do you.
America, we can't.
Why not?
You know why not, because we're not married. If we get caught, we'll both be put in jail. Because purity is a requirement for the selection.
They keep it surprisingly tame for the CW, I gotta say.
There are other things we could do.
I'm so sorry, Peter from the Narnia movies, you didn't deserve this. Anyway, Aspen decides to join the army because he doesn't want to ruin America's social status and he wants her to join the selection so that her family will get all of the goodies. So off America goes with the weight of all of her cast's expectations behind her. So she's on the plane with this other selection candidate, but the second their plane lands, there's a rebel attack. America wakes up in the palace and the queen explains to her that the other girl that she was with just had to go home to be with her family. But she's actually been kidnapped by the rebels! And the rebels want to use her to disrupt the selection and discredit the royal family. So America goes for a walk at night to look at the moon and remind herself of Aspen, and she ends up eavesdropping on a conversation between Prince Maxon and his dad. And his dad's all like, oh, you have to marry for political advantage instead of love, and Maxon's all like, oh, but what if I don't want to? After the king leaves, America makes a noise for no reason. So now Maxon sees her. He asks her what her whole deal is, and she's like, oh, well, this election's kind of a farce and I don't really want to be here. The next day, Maxon has meetings with all the girls and gives them a present. In his meeting with America, she immediately apologizes for insulting the selection, and he says, ooh, so you think it's not a farce? And she's like, no, I just think I should watch my words more. And ooh, he does not like that.
Please bring the next young lady.
You're not being fair.
I don't need to be.
Now we get the part where the girls are paraded on TV by knockoff Caesar Flickerman. Maxon and America are kind of messing with each other. He picks her out as the girl that's caught his eye the most because she is so excited to be here. And when knockoff Caesar Flickerman asks her what she thinks about the prince, she's like, oh, well, he's so humble and forgiving. I know y'all are watching this because you want to see me clowning on this pilot, but this scene was actually pretty fun. Meanwhile, in the army barracks, Aspen is being a grumpy boy. He's refusing to watch the TV segment. He tells his army buddies that he doesn't know who America is, despite the fact that it was his idea to not get married. Meanwhile, there's this other competitor called Celeste who has a bunch of dirt on all of the girls, and even gets one of the girls to lead the selection by blackmailing her. And the queen comes to confront her like, don't you think I did my research too? I know all of the dirt that you've got on these girls, and I am going to deal with it my way. There's also a hint that the queen is going to try to get rid of America somehow because she's too low caste for Maxon. Celeste is definitely being set up as a threat for later, but there would be no later because the pilot was bad and the show didn't get made. Meanwhile, America and Maxon run into each other. Maxon has worked out that she's in love with someone else, but he tries to kiss her anyway! And when she pulls away, he's like, well, I can't keep you in the selection if you're never going to love me. And she's like, no, but my family needs the money. The next day, she goes to meet Maxon to propose a deal.
You need someone on the inside.
Are we planning a bank robbery?
That joke wasn't funny! But yeah, basically America offers to be his spy on the inside and tell him what all the other girls are like when they're not around him to help him make his decision better. And in return, he'll make sure that she gets to the final 6 girls so that her family can stay getting their stipend and be bumped up a caste. The first cut is made, a few girls get sent home, it's nobody we care about. We do find out that Sylvan, the guy who's been helping prepare all the girls for the selection, is a double agent and he's working with the rebels. We also find out that Aspen is now part of the Royal Guard and is stationed in the palace! And that is where the pilot ends. Honestly, from what I remember of the book, it's pretty book accurate. It's just that the script was bad and the acting was bad and they were working with the budget of a 6-piece chicken McNugget. So what about the second pilot from 2013, you ask? Was that any better? The CW's philosophy appears to have been, if at first you don't succeed, try again, because they filmed another pilot for the selection in 2013. Alas, even this new pilot was not enough to get the show off the ground, and it ultimately didn't go forward. For a while, except for a few clips and fan-made trailers, it seemed to be completely scrubbed from existence. However, after I made my video reacting to the 2012 selection pilot, a wonderful person direct messaged me a link to the full 2013 selection TV pilot. The script of this pilot has been floating around the internet for a while, and it has elicited some pretty strong reactions. To illustrate why, here is the first page of the script for the 2013 pilot. I will warn you, it is quite raunchy, so if you want to read it for yourself, pause it and be my guest. So with that little taster, let's dive into the 2013 selection pilot. And make sure you stick around until the end of the video because somebody who worked on the 2013 pilot DM'd me some really interesting info from behind the scenes. And I'll be sharing that with y'all after my reaction. If you read that script page, you know how this begins. I will say that it's not as graphic as the script makes it sound. The characters are mostly clothed and there's an artfully placed gauze bed canopy. Also, some of the dialogue has been changed slightly, but overall it does seem like an opening that's trying intentionally to be edgy.
Maxon, the maids aren't here for your pleasure.
Don't worry, I always give more than I receive.
I want you dressed and presentable in 10 minutes.
Whatever you say.
But we weren't finished yet.
She goes. On Lucy, her sheets have to change themselves.
This charming fellow who just committed a horrible abuse of power against his maid is Prince Maxon. You know, the guy who in the books was supposed to be a charming golden retriever of a person who had never even kissed a girl. And yes, that is the guy who plays Enzo in The Vampire Diaries. We now arrive at a royal family meeting. The king, who is played by Anthony Head, wants to go ahead with the selection, the televised process by which Prince Maxon will choose his bride despite the rebel uprisings that have been occurring. He thinks the selection is good PR for the royal family and might help stop the lower classes from joining the rebels. Meanwhile, Prince Maxon's brother Rafe, who wasn't in the books, thinks that they should stop the selection for everyone's safety. Maxon shows up late to the meeting and gives this charming reason why he's looking forward to the selection.
This Christmas morning, only better. All the gifts have breasts.
This man just gets even worse every time he opens his mouth.
Dad respects me because unlike you, I actually give a damn about this country. Well, I only give a damn about myself. Yet I'll still be the next king. It stings, doesn't it?
We then cut to a montage with a voiceover explaining the state of the world. Too much technology led to a global war and a new kingdom rose out of it. All technology is banned except for that deemed absolutely necessary by the king.
A new nation was born, Ilia.
Interestingly, the 2012 pilot pronounces the country's name like Ilea. Instead of the 1 through 8 numbered caste system present in the books and in the 2012 pilot, the 2013 pilot has this class system, with the royals at the top and the labor class at the bottom. After the TV spot, we cut to, as the title says, a labor class ghetto. And it's here that we meet our protagonist, America.
Cut him down.
We also meet America's boyfriend Aspen, who has been strung up on this pole because he didn't bow at the king's procession. The law enforcement officer isn't impressed by America's attempt to defend Aspen, and so he tries to arrest her.
You're under arrest.
America gets away from the law enforcement officer and comes back with a knife to cut Aspen down.
It's sexy when you're being an action hero.
What's an action hero?
Something from the old days.
Do you get it? Because this is set in the future. Aspen and America aren't parts of any organized rebel group, but they both deeply dislike the monarchy. And they vow that they're going to run away together and start a new life. In the books and in the 2012 pilot, America and Aspen had this sort of forbidden romance because America was a 5 in the caste system and Aspen was a 6, and that meant they couldn't get married without her being demoted. But in this version, both of them are part of the laborer class, so that's not really an issue. Sylvan, the royal family social secretary, is announcing the selection candidates, so we don't have any knockoff Caesar Flickerman in this one. America takes Aspen to her house to dress his wounds while her family are watching the selection broadcast. America says the selection is stupid and it's propaganda for the monarchy, and her family tells her to shut up. But in a twist that nobody could have seen coming, America gets picked as a selection candidate.
America, Pacific.
America didn't enter the selection lottery, but it turns out her mother entered her for a chance at changing their family's future. So America immediately gets bundled off to the palace by royal guards who must have been waiting outside. The royal family have a briefing about some rebel activity. Maxon misses the meeting and his dad is cross about it. This is our first mention of Gaia Woods, the leader of a rebel faction. And Gaia Woods herself is spying on the selection candidates as they enter the palace. And then we get another reminder of just how charming Maxon is.
Trying to decide which one's corrupt first. Can't be absurd. I've already decided.
Girls attend some sort of palacey spa day, and it's here that America meets Celeste. She's another candidate whose family used to rule this land before it was Ilia. She's determined to become queen and take her rightful place as ruler of the country. Then Sylvan, the social secretary, arrives, says a few words about the upcoming winter's ball, and invites America to come with him. He shows her all the cartloads of flowers that the labor classers have sent her. America says that she's not interested in being some kind of symbol, and Sylvan tells her that she doesn't have a choice. America goes back to her room, and Maxon is there waiting for her!
I want you to leave.
Really?
Definitely.
Interesting.
Really?
Definitely.
Why?
Well, to start with, women don't usually talk to me like that. Labor class, no less. I'm impressed. The question is, what am I going to do? What the hell?
I'm sorry. I know you're the prince, but will you just go?
You're serious? Fascinating.
You could send me home.
No, I don't think so. I haven't had this much fun with a girl who wasn't naked in ever. Just imagine how much fun I'll have when I finally get you into bed.
That's not gonna happen.
Your certainty's adorable.
And you, Prince Maxon, have no shame.
None at all. sleep tight.
Thank God he eventually left, but why did that sleep tight sound like a serial killer threat? At night, a servant called Peter comes to America's room and takes her to see Aspen, who has snuck into the palace to see her. Aspen tells America that he's been drafted into the army, and so if they're going to run away together, it's gotta be now or never. Also, there's this really unfunny joke where Aspen and America start kissing and Peter's like, "Oh, I'm still here, guys."
And I'm still here.
Nobody cares, Peter. Look away if you're that bothered. Maxon is walking around with a couple of selection candidates and he runs into his father. His father orders the ladies back to their room and then slaps Maxon. On the one hand, you shouldn't hit your children, but on the other hand, Maxon kind of deserved it. The king basically chews him out for being a loser and threatens to disinherit him. Maxon gives a speech at the ball which seems at least partly geared toward placating his father into thinking he actually cares about his princely duties. He also references how, ooh, earlier somebody told me that I have no shame, and I don't know if that was supposed to be like a fun inside joke, but like, he does have no shame, he's horrible! And then Anything Could Happen by Ellie Goulding starts playing. And my first thought was, I haven't heard this song in like 10 years, but I guess it makes sense that a show from 2013 would have this in the soundtrack. Except, we then cut to a scene outside the ballroom of the rebels taking out the guards. And the same song is still playing, muffled in the background.
Let's go.
Characters in the show are actually ballroom dancing to Anything Can Happen by Ellie Goulding. 2013 called It Wants Its High School Prom Playlist Back. The king appears to be feeling faint for a little bit at the ball and the queen asks him to go see a doctor. We'll circle back to this later. America tries to go talk to Peter, the servant who's helping her and Aspen escape, but Maxon grabs her to dance with her and harass her some more. It also seems like there's something romantic going on between Prince Rafe and the selection candidate Fiona. America finally manages to talk to Peter and find out how she's going to escape with Aspen. And then the rebels attack and there's a sword fight with swords because technology's outlawed. Peter gets killed and tells America that it's going to be too dangerous to escape without him, but of course she's going to try anyway. The rebels eventually get booted out of the palace, but they take one of the selection candidates, Ashley, with them. The royals are determined to find out how the rebels got inside. They find a suspicious looking copy of the guard rotation in Fiona's room, but it was actually Celeste who planted it there. Prince Rafe seems to still be on Fiona's side, but for now she gets dragged away and imprisoned.
I didn't do anything.
I believe you. Stay strong.
America goes back to her room, puts on the maid disguise that Peter left there for her, and runs. But Prince Maxon catches up with her in the woods and brings her back to the palace. Maxon knows about Aspen, and he advises her that if she tries to run away with Aspen, the royal guards will probably hunt them down. But we see perhaps a bit of vulnerability from Maxon here because he doesn't go to turn her in.
Despite myself, I find that I rather like you.
America strikes a deal with Maxon. She'll go back to the selection and be the perfect candidate, appeasing the labor classes and making the royals look good. And in exchange, he'll stop Aspen from being drafted.
There are more labor classers than the other 5 classes put together. And whoever wins their support, that's who will rule Ilium. I will give you the labor class.
The king makes a broadcast to announce that Maxon won't be eliminating any of the selection candidates yet. We also see that Celeste and her maid have a bit of a secret romance going on. The queen suggests to the king that maybe they should use some of the advanced weapons technology locked in their vault to stop the rebels. But the king refuses, not wanting to make the same mistakes as his ancestors. We then see the queen slip something into the king's drink, and that tells me that she might have something to do with the king's sickness that we saw earlier. As Aspen waits alone for America, Maxon and his guards show up to arrest Aspen. That's right, folks, Maxon did not hold up his end of the bargain with America. And we end by finding out that the royal social secretary Sylvan is actually the leader of the rebels. Overall, I actually think that production-wise and even acting-wise, this was way better than the first pilot. I'm just really confused about who it was for because everything about this seems designed to annoy book fans. Maxon seems to have essentially been made into a villain in this, and I'm interested to see how that would play out, but if he ends up becoming the love interest, he's going to need a hell of a redemption arc. I'm also really interested in what the queen is up to with poisoning her husband. I'm also interested in the political angle, but with America being so anti-monarchy at the beginning, I'm kind of confused as to how she could end up becoming Queen of Ilia without feeling like a sellout. But who knows what they were planning to do. Now for some juicy behind-the-scenes info. According to the casting assistant for this pilot, the CW actually really liked this version of the selection. It just didn't get picked up because they thought it was too similar to Reign, which was also coming out on their network around that time. This was also around the time that The 100 came out, and the network didn't want to do too many dystopian shows at once. And another fun fact, apparently William Moseley, aka Peter from the Narnia movies, who played Aspen in the 2012 pilot, was asked to come back and audition for both Aspen and Maxon in the 2013 pilot. But obviously he didn't end up getting either role. Thank you for coming along on this ride with me, and I guess if we have to take anything away from this, it should be that selection book fans should be thanking their lucky stars for Reign. So back in the heyday of YA dystopian novels, there was this series by Lauren Oliver called Delirium. The premise is that love is illegal, and when you are 18 you get a procedure that removes your ability to love. And you will never guess what the protagonist does right before her 18th birthday. If you guess that she falls in love, you get no points because it was exceedingly obvious. In case you couldn't tell from my tone, I didn't like Delirium very much. In 2014, Delirium was made into a TV pilot starring Emma Roberts. And it sucked, so the network didn't pick it up. While the pilot was briefly made available for streaming on Hulu in 2014, it has since been entirely scrubbed from the internet. Until now, because my media wizard brother managed to dig it up. And now I am going to watch the entire 2014 Delirium pilot so that you don't have to. We begin, as all good movies do, with a voiceover info dumping the details of this world.
Love is a deadly disease. Fortunately, science has provided a cure. There's a fence around every city. There is censorship of books and music. Boys and girls are forbidden to socialize.
Boys and girls are separated. It kind of sounds like the gays win this one. In case you're wondering, there is no mention of gay people in this. So this is Lena, and she is heading to her pre-procedure assessment, the results of which will determine who her life partner will be after she gets the anti-delirium procedure. And she goes to nervously wait in line for her assessment with her friend Hannah.
Don't bite your nails. It's a sign of weakness. Here, bite mine.
I can't decide whether that was cute or weird. We now cut to Julian, a character who was introduced in the second Delirium book and for some reason is here now. He's at a press conference introducing his dad, who is the president of the Delirium Free Association. His dad then comes on and gives a speech about how they need to quash the rebels in order to keep their society delirium free. We then cut to a scene with two guys outside the city swapping equipment. This, I believe, is supposed to be Tak, who is the leader of this rebel faction that wants to fight against the oppressive government. And this is Alex, a rebel working under Tak, who I already didn't like from the book, but somehow he's even worse in the show. So Lena's waiting around for her assessment, and Alex, disguised as a police officer, comes to bring her there.
Lena Holloway.
That's me.
I know this look is probably supposed to be intense, but it just comes across as really creepy. Anyway, Lena goes to her assessment, answers some questions. We find out that her dad died of cancer when she was young, and because her mother's procedure to cure her of the delirium didn't work, her mother then unalived herself out of grief. So that's why Lena lives with her sister. Oh yeah, and during her assessment, Alex is staring at her like this the entire time. We're saved from this man's death stare when a bunch of sheep burst in. A bunch of rebels burst in, and Tak tries to get into a government computer and searches for the name Conrad Holloway, which is, by the way, Lena's dad's name. While this is happening, Lena gets escorted out of the facility by real police. Lena and Hannah go for a run. They talk about what might be outside of their city's fence, but Lena is determined not to wonder about it. Meanwhile, we find out that even though Julian is 18, he hasn't had his delirium procedure yet for medical reasons. Thomas gives Julian a cautionary tale about how when Thomas was young, he once fell in love. But then the girl he was in love with dumped him for his best friend. And so he beat up his best friend. So instead of dealing with his own toxic masculinity, this man decided that it would be much better if everybody just lost the ability to love. He wasn't the one who made up the delirium procedure, by the way, but he's like very much in support of it. I'm sorry, dude, it just seems like you want to blame literally anything else for your own inability to control your emotions. Meanwhile, Hannah drags Lena to a secret co-ed party, and Alex is there and he flirts creepily with Lena some more.
Actually, I see you all the time running down at the harbor. Usually hang out there after my shift.
Guess you never forget a face.
Yeah, I do. I just remember yours.
As Alex is leaving, Lena notices this scar behind his ear, which is a sign that he's had the delirium procedure. Spoiler alert, the scar's fake. Meanwhile, at the Capitol, Julian's dad is talking to the senator who is also a presidential candidate. He says that his organization, the DFA, will endorse her for president if she helps crack down on the rebels. Also, it was right about here that it hit me. This is literally Footloose. I mean, think about it. Dancing and music are illegal. Julian's dad is literally the Reverend from Footloose.
Kids need rules, and our cities need fences.
Lena runs into Alex again by the beach because he was stalking her. They have a chat about the delirium procedure, her parents, etc. And then they run into the sea, and it's supposed to be all cute, but I despise Alex, so I just hate every second of this. Lena returns home to find a letter that reveals her assigned life partner. She calls Hannah to talk about it, and honestly, she's just really mean about this guy that she doesn't even know.
My husband's name is Brian Sharp. Like the sound a dog makes when it pukes. Maybe you got matched for a reason. Oh, so you think I'm a freak too?
And then Alex shows up outside her house. She's like, what do you want from me?
I like you,
You don't even know me.
but I want to.
And then he kisses her. She does then freak out and tell him to leave her alone, but like, I wish that stuck.
Life without love isn't living.
Meanwhile, Julian, who up until now I thought was kind of nice, is stalking Hannah.
Were you just watching me?
No.
Won't tell anyone. It's totally normal.
No, it's not! She invites him to listen to her music and asks if he's ever broken a rule, and he's like, no, not me. Sir, how are you gonna fully stalk this girl, but listening to music is where you draw the line? Boys in this movie Stop Stalking Girls Challenge, very hard edition. The senator gets confronted by another official about the crackdowns on the rebels. He points out that it's fascist, which it is. Then there's a police raid on the houses in Lena's neighborhood, and she gets questioned by the cops. But Hannah is at another co-ed party, so Lena races to warn her. The party then gets raided by the cops, Lena gets bitten by a police dog, and goes into this basement area to hide, where Alex finds her. He tells her that he didn't actually get the cure and he ran away from home, and she has the choice to do the same if she wants to. Julian's dad is going off to endorse the senator. He wants Julian to come with him, but Julian lies about a tutoring session to get out of it. What he's actually going to do is snoop through his father's things. The senator talks to her son about his upcoming procedure, it's not really important. Lena goes to make sure that Hannah's alright, and Hannah accuses her of being in love with Alex, which she denies. Meanwhile, Julian finds a picture of his dad's girlfriend signed Love Sunny, and he finds a stereo full of forbidden music. Meanwhile, Alex takes Lena to this high-security prison. 3 days ago, a top-security prisoner escaped, and it turns out it was her dad! He's not really dead, he was just in jail! Because he's a chemist who was trying to find the antidote for the delirium procedure. And Lena knows it's her dad because he scratched this quote that he liked on his cell wall. And see, what I don't get is if he only escaped 3 days ago, and the rebels have been looking for him since then, have only 3 days passed in this show so far? Actually, it's less than 3 days because the rebels would have needed time to plan their raid on that facility where Lena was getting her assessment. This makes no sense! Another thing that irritates me about this is that in the book, it was Lena's mom who didn't really die and was just in prison. So the fact that in the show it's played straight and this woman really did die from a broken heart, it weirds me out. It smells a little bit sexist to me. And if they needed a chemist, her mom could have been a chemist. They go back to the beach, and Lena worries that Alex was only pretending to like her so he could get close to her to help try and find her dad. And he insists that no, he caught her eye way before then because he kept watching her while she was running at the beach. Stalking is so romantic.
This is crazy.
So am I. So are you.
Barf. Tak and Alex have a call, and Alex basically says that he can't do his job properly because he's so in love with Lena. Tak is like, oh my god, just do your damn job.
When I'm with this girl, I can't concentrate. I forget everything. Who I am, who you are, what I'm doing, because all I can think about is her.
You need to calm down and you need to pull it together.
You want to fight for love and tell me I can't have it?
Look, it is one sacrifice, Alex, one. And I am not here to screw around.
Anyway, Hannah tips off Lena's sister that Lena might be suffering from the delirium. And so Lena gets kidnapped to go to the lab and have her delirium procedure done immediately. But Alex crashes into the cop car she was being transported in and gets her out. Julian's dad comes home and Julian confronts him about all the stuff he found in his office. His dad is like, well, that stuff's safe for me because I've had the cure, but you shouldn't be mussing around with it. His dad asks Julian how listening to the music made him feel, and Julian's like, it made me feel. And his dad's like, see, that's why we have laws, because we can't have people going around and feeling things. Julian calls out his dad's hypocrisy, and then his dad punches him?
Who do you think you are? Questioning me? I will call the doctor myself!
Meanwhile, Alex tells Lena that they have to get over the fence and get out of the city, but they make out a bit first. So the cops are chasing them, Alex urges her forward. In the middle of this sequence, Hannah gets assigned her match, and it's the senator's son. Lena manages to climb over the fence, but Alex gets got by the cop, and presumably he's dead. And that's the end. It's possible that if the show had gotten picked up, they would have remade the first episode without stuffing so much into it. But as it was, they stuffed an entire first book and some characters from the sequels into 43 minutes. And I'm honestly not convinced this book lends itself to a TV adaptation anyway. While I may not have had fun watching all of these pilots, I had a lot of fun putting this video together. Let me know what you think about these failed TV adaptations, and if there are any other books that you would like to see get a good adaptation for screen in the comments. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and also subscribe to my monthly newsletter to get access to my YouTube videos 3 days early and keep up with my latest projects and content. The link to that is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.